Hi guys, welcome to the second video of AWS series. In this video we will first create an EC2 instance. We will then be creating an EBS volume and then we will be attaching that EBS volume to the EC2 instance. Before getting started, please subscribe to my channel to get notified for all of the latest contents and videos. So EC2 instance basically provides us a scalable computing. Scalable computing, it means we can be able to increase and decrease at any point of time based on to our demand or based on to our customer load. We could be able to add as many cloud servers as we want, or we could be able to create any virtual as many virtual services we want, and we could be able to detach it and use it for some another purposes. So it provides us the scalable computing, increases or decreases any point of time based on to the customer load. Now let's go on to the EBS volume. So basically when I have a particular set of volume for any of my instance, let's say 8 GB or it could be 10 GB. So if it is a root volume, I could also be able to add some additional volume into it. So for example, I have created an instance of 8 GB root volume, and I require some other additional volume for my storage purposes, and I wanted to attach it to my running instance, that particular instance that I'm using. Let's say if I have a requirement of 5 GB of additional volume. So I want to attach this 5 GB of additional volume to this root volume instance that I'm having. It could be anything. It could be of a Linux machine. Or it could be of a Linux virtual server that I'm using. It could be of an Ubuntu virtual server if I'm using. It could be of a Windows or anything. So for this tutorial, we'll be focusing on Linux. We'll be creating a Red Hat instance of 8 GB root volume, and we'll be attaching 5 GB additional volume into it. So for this thing, let me go on to my. So once you quickly log on to your AWS management console, you could be able to see this home screen of AWS management console. Now you can quickly go on to the services. You can click on to the EC2 instance. It's loading. So right now I don't have any running instances, that's why it's showing me 0. And I will also create a new key pair. I will not use any of the existing key pair, I've deleted it. So I'll quickly go on to the launch instance. If you watch my first video, you can skip that step, and you could if you have any running instances, then you can follow the second part of my this video. So I'll go on to the launch instance. So I'll select the Amazon Linux to AMI machine that we have spoken. We will be using this type of an instance as a root volume of 8 GB. So let me select it. I'll choose an instance type as T2 micro. It is a free tier eligible. For this, I will be using US East 1A availability zone. This is the location of my physical data center. You could be able to use it of any type, but at the time of creating an additional volume, you have to take care that it should be of same subnet, or it should be of same availability zone. Let me go on to the add storage. So here you can see that my device name is dev xvda, and I'm using 8 GB of root volume. I'll go and add tags. Let me name it service 1. I'll go on to the configuring security group, which I'll keep it default for now. I'll review and launch my instance. So I'll select this thing. I'll create a new key pair for this, and I'm gonna call it as a service. Now I will download it. So for now, let me move this PEM file into my documents folder. And from this folder, I will be accessing to this EC2 instance with the help of this PEM file. So I'll close it, and I will go launch instance. I can again go back to the services and click on to EC2. So if I click on to running instance, it will show that one instance has been running, which I have just created. Now this service 1 running instance that I'm having, that I've just created, I'll select this instance. It's initializing. So I've selected this instance, and in the details section, it will show me a public IP of this instance. I'm gonna click copy that. So I'll copy this instance public IP. Now I will go on to my terminal. So now again what I am doing is I'm connecting this EC2 instance to my local machine. For that, first I will go into the folder where I'm having my PEM file for this EC2 instance, or my AWS console. I'm gonna hit ls-l. I can see that I have my PEM file over here. Now, but I don't have the executable permission as of now in this for this PEM file. For that, I will be using command called chmod 400 onto my PEM file. I'll hit enter, and I'll again check what are the permissions now. Now I could be able to do anything with this PEM file. So let me quickly connect my local machine to my EC2, to my AWS management console, or to my AWS account, particularly that instance that I'm running. For that, I'll be using a command called ssh-i I'll use my PEM file EC2 hyphen user at, and I'm gonna paste my public IP over here. Now I'm gonna hit enter. Yes. Now I can see that I'm into my EC2 instance. Now I'll clear the screen first. So I can now quickly log in into as a root user. For this I'll be using a command called sudo -i. So now I have logged in to this EC2 instance as a root user. Now I'll be using a command called yum update because I'm using AWS Linux machine or AWS Linux type of an instance. So I'll be using command called yum update. If you are selecting any Ubuntu type of a machine, then you have to use apt-get update. But for this I'll be using yum update. Let me hit enter. And so extra suggestion language packs and update have been modified, but no package is marked for update. So it's pretty much updated at this point of time. Now I want to quickly check the root volume into this EC2 instance, like this instance that I'm having, how much volume as a root it is utilizing. For this I'll be using a command called fdisk-l. I'll hit enter, and now I can see that the root volume that I have created, or the instance that I have created, the root volume for this instance is 8 GB, which I can be able to see it over here. Now I want to create an additional volume for some of my purposes, and I want to attach that additional volume to this instance that I'm having. For that, what I'll be doing, I'll go on to my AWS console. I'm already into my EC2 instance, running instance, that I can see it over here. Now I can see it in this left section. There is an elastic block storage volume. So like we have said, for this 8 GB of root volume instances, which is Amazon Linux machine, I want to add another 5 GB of additional volume for my some other storage purposes, or it could be anything. So I'll click on to this volume, and now I can see it over here that this 8 GB volume is already there. Now this is the root volume that I have already created. This is the root volume of that instance that I'm already running, and you can see it over here that it's currently in a running state, in use state, with the availability zone US East 1A. Now I want to create an 5 GB of additional volume. For that I will hit create volume. I'll select the size as 5 GB. I'll keep everything default for now. I'll use the availability zone as US East 1A, and I'm gonna add a tag name to it as extra volume. I'll do create volume. So now I've successfully created an additional volume. I'll close this for now. And now I can see that this volume, extra volume that I've created, it's still in my AWS account and it's in available status. It's not in use status. Now attaching this volume to this running instance of mine, I'll select that extra volume. I'll go on to the action and I'll select attach volume. Here's the running instance that I'm having named as service 1. I'll select this one and I'll hit attach. It's gonna take some time over here, but you can see it's an in use status with this instance that I'm having. I'll quickly go back onto the terminal. Now let me again run the command to check what are the volumes that I'm having. For this again I'll be using fdisk-l. I'll hit it enter, and now I can see that I have this 8 GB of instance volume, and now I have 5 GB of additional volume available over here with the name dev xpdf. Let me again clear the screen. Now first what I will do, I'll format this additional volume that I'm having in the Linux form. So for this I'll be using command called mkfs dot ext or hyphen dev hyphen xpdf. Now again this dev xpdf that I'm using, this is an additional volume. You can see it over here. It's in use. It's into the US East 1 region. I'll do a status check tag. So again, this mkfs formatting that we are doing is for this extra volume. So I'll again go back onto the terminal, the command that I've written. I'll hit enter. So I've cleared it pretty much over here. Now I will create a new folder to mount this extra volume that I'm having to this EC2 instance that I'm having. So I'll create a folder name mkdir folder 1. I'll do ls-l, and I can see that I have a folder over here. Now I'll be using, let me clear it. Now I'll be using a command called df-h to check the volumes that I'm having available, and if that 5 GB of volume is mounted to my current EC2 instance or not. So once using this command, I can see it over here that I have 8 gigabytes of volume of a root volume of this instance that I'm having. I cannot be able to see 5 GB of additional volume that I've created. Now I've already created a folder. Now what I will be doing, I'll be mounting that additional volume to my EC2 instance. For that I'll be using a command called mount xpdf. Again, this is the additional volume that I have created, and I'll mount it to my folder 1. Now I'll do ls I can see that I can see lost plus found. It means I've successfully mounted my root volume. I've successfully mounted my additional volume to my root volume. Now how can I be able to check it? Again, I'll use a command called df-h. So until now, when I have not mounted, I can only be able to see an XVDA1, but now I can be able to see it over here that the 5 GB of additional volume is mounted to my running EC2 instance. Again, I wanted to cross verify it, so I'll go into the CD folder 1. I'll create some of the sample file over here. So I'll create a sample.txt. For that I'll be using a command called touch sample.txt. Now if I do ls, so I can see that I have created sample.txt file in folder 1, and this is in the additional volume which I have already mounted it. Now this has been successfully achieved, but how can I be able to detach or unmount this additional volume that I'm having to my running instance? Should I go directly over here and detach it? But that tends to lead a problem in terms of losing some of the key components or the files that I've created, for example like this one. So for this I'll be first unmounting this file with my current EC2 instance, and then I'll be detaching it from my AWS console. For this I'll be using a command called umount folder 1. Once I hit enter, okay, let me go back. Umount folder 1. Once I hit enter and once I do ls, I can see that folder 1 is there. But let me do df-h and let me check if that additional volume is still attached to my EC2 instance or not. So once I do df-h, I can see that that additional volume has successfully been detached. That's successfully being unmounted from this current EC2 instance that I'm having. For that again I'll quickly check. I'll go into that folder 1 directory that I have created. I'll do ls and I can see that I have found nothing. There is no file because that sample.txt file has already been saved in this extra volume that I have created. Now to exit this EC2 machine, I'll simply click, let me go back. I'll simply click exit, and I'm exited from my EC2 machine. So that's it for this video, guys. That's how we can be able to use an extra volume, extra EBS volume to be attached to our EC2 instance. And now I can successfully go it over here in the action section and detach the volume. So it will successfully detach it from my EC2 instance from my AWS console, and I could also be able to use this extra volume that I've created for some of my other instances. So that's it for this video, guys.